All right, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome back to a StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm replay cast. This is promised, of course. Today it's going to be a Terran versus Protoss representing StarTail in the bottom right. We're going to have our blue Terran player. It's StarTail Bomber, and of course in the upper left we have our red Protoss player. This is taken from his replay pack, which he posted on Twitter. You guys are welcome to go ahead and check his Twitter at iNcontroL. Just check his latest Twitter, maybe the last 2 or 3. You'll find a link. Click that link, download the replay pack, and look over some games. So, iNcontroL, representing Evil Geniuses, of course, he's going to be a red Protoss in the upper left side of this map. Now, the map is Bel'shir Vestige. This is a newer map in the StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm ladder. Now, it's not new as like it got introduced a few days ago. It's new, meaning that this was never played in any sort of Wings of Liberty ladder pool for Blizzard. So definitely going to be a fun game. I'm really kind of curious to see how this map is going to be used a lot more in the pro level play. I mean, it's used in the GSL, it's used in the Pro League, and it's used in ladders. So definitely the more games that get played on this, the more experience and the more comfortable these pro players are going to be able to, I guess, show off their little cool little build orders. But so far, let's talk about the openings. iNcontroL going for a very common build, going for the Gateway first. You don't really see Nexus first really anymore against Terran players. You did see it very, very rarely in Wings of Liberty, just because not a lot of Terran players were opening Reaper because it's not as good as it is in Heart of the Swarm. Reapers regenerate when they're not in combat. So, I mean, you can attack, you can pull back, and all of a sudden your Reaper is basically back to full health. So iNcontroL not going to go for the Nexus first. Not a huge surprise, quite honestly. A lot of Protoss players have kind of just got it stuck in their head. Gateway, Cybernetics Core, maybe sometimes you go Zealot, sometimes you go Stalker or Chrono Boost to Stalker out. Sometimes you even go second gas before your actual Cybernetics Core, which really kind of gives a little bit of a hint that you're going to be going for some early some kind of tech. Stargate tech, robotics tech. Robotics not as common, but most likely some sort of Stargate tech, just because Oracles and Void Rays are pretty prevalent in the matchup. I would say Oracles are a lot more used compared to Void Rays in PvT. But Bomber, of course, I don't know if this is the real Bomber. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but I'm just going to go ahead and cast it as if it is, because that's what account he's using. He is going for a very, yet another standard build here. He's not grabbing gas, which is a little bit interesting. You see a lot of Terran players really abusing the metagame in Heart of the Swarm and going for early Reapers, getting scouting information, poking into the main base of their opponent, picking off a few harvesters. Actually, Bomber being a little bit annoying at the natural here of iNcontroL, going to be able to plot down this engineering bay. Definitely annoying. It's not really going to delay the Nexus too much for iNcontroL. He's going to get a Stalker out just in time to go ahead and just, you know, take a few pod hits on this engineering bay. So that engineering bay definitely going to get canceled rather soon, but just a little bit of an annoyance for Bomber in the early stages of the game. Meanwhile, he's just adding on a command center, adding on these double barracks as well. Very common follow-up here to this one barracks command center opening. You go 1 barracks command center, throw down your 2 additional barracks. You're going to be up to 3 racks, and then get your gas, and then start adding on some add-ons. Some tech labs. Usually get a reactor and a tech lab, or sometimes you get 2 reactors and a tech lab if you're going for 3 barracks. So we'll see what Bomber decides to do. iNcontroL going up to this Twilight Council. This is actually a pretty good choice for iNcontroL. Now, he is known to be playing a lot of DTs in PvT. He loves using Dark Templars in basically all of the matchups. I'm just going to go ahead and call it all of the matchups. iNcontroL likes to use Dark Shrines, and boom, just like that, guys, we're seeing a Dark Shrine right at the edge of the base of iNcontroL. I'm not too sure this is the best position. A Reaper can easily just come in here and scout this out, or I mean, I can totally see why iNcontroL is doing this. He doesn't want it to get scanned, because usually Terran players will scan right in the center, the heart of your base, to see what tech you're going for. And it's not going to be an all-in at all. So iNcontroL is going for that Nexus at the natural expansion. Now, Bomber has went for the 1 barracks command center. He still has not floated it to the natural. So with this kind of a build from Bomber, it really looks like he's just playing it safe, even getting a bunker. So holy moly. From the information I'm gathering from this, Bomber really thinks that iNcontroL might be very, very aggressive here in the early stages. Is not 100% sure that he can just send in a command center at that natural expansion. Not a huge deal. He gets a little bit of a favor here for iNcontroL because his Nexus is actually right at the natural. You cannot lift off next side, guys. You have to build it wherever the hell you're going to be mining from. So, iNcontroL, follow-up is going to be that robotics facility, as we can see in the production tab, that Dark Shrine, very close to finishing. Pylon coming up at the natural. We'll be able to deny this, or delay this expansion for a little bit longer here from Bomber. But Bomber's been building up quite a good amount of units. If we look at the units count, we see 11 Marines, 2 Marauders, and iNcontroL has 2 Stalkers, a Mothership Core, and that DT. DT is on the map right now. Let's see how much damage this Dark Shrine can do. Does Bomber have any energy? This command center has no energy. 48 energy on that one. It's just going to have enough time to go ahead and get a scan onto this on this Dark Templar. We'll see if he's going to be able to use it. iNcontroL, smartly enough, just going to go ahead and pull away as if Bomber didn't see it. But of course, Bomber sees it. He's just does not want to waste a scan and then all of a sudden have another DT right in his face. Now, iNcontroL, getting an observer to go ahead and get a little bit of scouting information. There is that Mothership Core, which is used quite defensively. You know, in this stage of the game, 8 minutes in, you're going to be using this a little bit more defensively in case of a push out from the Terran for the photon overcharge ability onto the Nexus. Of course, you can use the Time Warp. But if it was a little bit earlier, you're going to be, you know, quite aggressive. Maybe a Zealot and a Stalker and that Mothership Core can really do some damage. Zealot gets in, or excuse me, SCV gets in, get a little bit of scouting information. That DT is going to get scanned, and Bomber will be able to finally eliminate it. But this is good scouting once again for iNcontroL. He's going to be able to confirm that, you know, there's no crazy 1-1-1. There's no siege tanks. All he sees is bio. And now we're going to see Bomber go ahead and float over that natural command center. Supply count, very even, actually exactly even. 60 to 61 now for Bomber. iNcontroL, tech-wise, he has a robotics facility, so he can easily do maybe a Colossus transition. There is that double forge being thrown down for iNcontroL. So he's going to go ahead and start on his upgrades here very, very shortly. And that's something iNcontroL is very good at. He's, you know, he may not win a crazy amount of games, but he is very, very good at being on top of his upgrades. And this is something a lot of Protoss players really lack. And, you know, from seeing iNcontroL stream, he really knows how to, you know, allocate his gas resources into upgrades, into tech, into, you know, what, Stalkers, Colossi, High Templar, whatever units cost a lot of gas. Bomber looks like he's going to be going for a little bit of a push out here. 77 supply for him, 81 for iNcontroL. Upgrades-wise, he's just now getting started on his +1 weapons. iNcontroL, of course, has that Chrono Boost ability. Double Forge has completed. +1 weapons, as well as the armor, is in the production tab for iNcontroL. Now, it's going to be crucial for him to warp in some units. So look at these Zealots. These Zealots are pretty little Zealots, man. Of course, that's one of the new skins for Blizzard. Looks kind of... I would have thought this might have been like a hallucination. But I guess it's just... that's how they look like. Okay, so Bomber... scouting this out, we'll be able to see a few of these units, spawning the Zealots and the Sentries and the Stalkers. Now we're going to see these Medevacs make their way towards the main base. Trying to do a little bit of a drop. We'll be able to cap this Dark Shrine from iNcontroL. iNcontroL, now this is kind of what I'm talking about. A Reaper can see this, Medevacs can see this. Not the best position, but again, I completely understand his thinking. You know, he does not want to get it scouted. So not a huge deal, but that's a lot of gas lost. Not so much. 150 gas is not a lot, but you know, you definitely don't want to be losing those kinds of structures in this game. Now, iNcontroL, Chrono boosting out 1-1, getting a Robotic Spay, getting an Immortal as well, so he's really kind of committed to Zealot, Sentry, Stalker, Immortals to be able to defend against this kind of a push. There is that Superman Speed, of course. It's not called Superman Speed, it's called Ignite Afterburners into the main base of iNcontroL. Good amount of bio. iNcontroL will be able to go ahead and deny this. Now the Medevacs are going to go ahead and fly away. iNcontroL has been very good at kind of seeing these things happen. I mean, he has cannons in position already, so this is kind of what Protoss players have been doing against this Medevac play, is just make some cannons, make 2-3 cannons in your mineral line, and you know, you may not be you may not be able to defend it, but it buys you enough time to go ahead and react, send your units into the main base to go ahead and deal with the drop. Bomber now 121 supply, +1 has completed. 1-1 has completed for iNcontroL as well with C22 in the production tab. Oh my god, iNcontroL is actually on the other side of the map. He's going to be able to see this. Finally, Bomber's going to get the hell out of there. He knows that that is a lot of units from iNcontroL. Oh my god. Look at these SCVs from Bomber. So Bomber actually doesn't have anything at the natural. Has quite a few SCVs in the main base. But this is something Korean Terran players have been doing so much off of 2 base on this map. Look how big this ramp is. This actually allows the SCVs and the Marauders and the Marines and the Medevacs to actually do a ridiculous amount of damage. iNcontroL needs to Chrono Boost out this Colossus and Chrono Boosting 2-2 as well. I don't know if it's going to be enough time. Blink in the protection tab, as well as the Thermal Lance. Here's a Force Field's being thrown up by iNcontroL, and Bomber's going to try to focus on this Nexus. If he can keep iNcontroL on one base, that would be a huge victory. Picking off the Nexus, iNcontroL yet trying to throw down more Force Fields. Pretty good Force Fields. These Zealots not going to do too much. iNcontroL actually falling to 103 supply, but the upgrades are in the favor of the Protoss player. Bomber still has a lot of units left. Workers lost. Oh my god. 20 workers lost for Bomber. iNcontroL will be able to clean it up, losing the Nexus. But let's compare economy, ladies and gentlemen. 33 SCVs to 54 probes. Natural expansion of Bomber does not have too much. He still has, of course, a good amount of barracks. Transitioning into this Vikings, of course, to deal with the Colossi. iNcontrol's 2-2, very close to finishing. These are just numbers to look at because iNcontroL might have lost the expansion, but you have to take into consideration the amount of SCVs that Bomber lost in that last engagement. Bomber is now going to get started on his continuing his upgrades, with his armor. So he's going to have 1-1 here very, very shortly. Force fields are up for iNcontroL. We'll be able to do a little bit of damage against its bio. Bomber's, of course, going to try to stim and micro against this. Bomber's not in a good position, guys. I mean, 97 supply to 99. Don't let the supply count fool you. Bomber has not been producing any SCVs in the production tab. He's just making nothing but units. This is basically a desperation move by Bomber. Very, very all-in-ish. Cannot really take a third behind this. He kind of has to go and kill iNcontroL now or he's going to be in a lot of trouble. iNcontroL has more upgrades. He has better tech. His Nexus is now going to finish at the natural expansion, getting Blink. And the problem here is the Colossus. There's no way Bomber can afford to basically produce Medevacs and Vikings off of this. I guess it's 2-base economy, but, you know, technically 1 base. Of course, he made some SCVs, dropped some mules, tearing a pretty good race. But regardless, iNcontroL definitely not out of this game at all, to be quite honest. Bomber now is just controlling the map in the center, just trying to maybe look out for observers, maybe even just go for another follow-up push. Still making Marines, Marauders, Vikings in the production tab. How many Vikings does he have? 4 Vikings against 2 Colossi. So that is not enough. That's not a lot of Vikings against this many Colossus from iNcontroL. I mean, just looking at this army can easily beat what Bomber currently has. So Bomber, I mean, what does he do at this point? Does he take a third? No way he can take a third now. iNcontroL already has a Zealot in position to go ahead and spot this out. 48 SCVs now to 54. So Bomber has really been on top of his, you know, just producing Harvesters so he can try to come back in this game. 150 supply for Bomber, 135 supply for iNcontroL. Natural has finally completed. iNcontroL feeling pretty comfortable. Going to take a third expansion. But all of a sudden, in the main base of iNcontroL, we're seeing that Ignite Afterburner's ability. Loading up everything. Whoa, Bomber's actually losing quite a lot of units here. And I'm not too sure this was good for Bomber. He's trying to micro to the best of his ability. But if you're going to be... Okay, as a Terran player, if you're going for this Doom drop, I guess people call it nowadays, you want to be pretty comfortable or pretty sure that you can just kill out your opponent. But Bomber loaded everything in there and just not too sure. That just was not a good choice by Bomber. He knows that he lost a lot of SCVs, and he knows that he may not have quite a good amount of units to deal with what iNcontroL has, especially this amount of Colossi on the map. So Bomber kind of just going to regroup here in the center of the map. Storm is now going to be the transition from iNcontroL. I love this choice. No way in hell can Bomber afford going into Ghosts at this point in the game. I mean, if he can't make Vikings and Medevacs consistently, there's no way he can make Ghosts. He's only been able to produce 1 extra Viking since he lost the SCVs in the early stages of the game. So iNcontroL going to be able to take this 3rd base. I want to look at iNcontrol's upgrades. 2-2 for Bomber. We also have a 1-1. So 2-2's just now getting started. So this is, again, the power of the upgrades in the early stages of PvT. It is so important to chrono boost out your upgrades as Protoss players to make sure that you can just, you know, flat out win against a Terran army. Even though it's a, you know, Marine, Marauder, Medevac is very, very powerful, you need upgrades and the right army composition to deal with it. Nice little scan here from Bomber. So he's very on top of scouting out these observers. Does not want to have these Medevac drops spotted by iNcontroL. But the problem here is this third base is up for iNcontroL. Third base actually up for Bomber, but take note, he actually floated it from the main base to this third expansion. Storm about to finish for iNcontroL. iNcontroL actually kind of sneaking behind here into Bomber's unit composition. Bomber knows, hey man, that's a lot of units. Even sees the High Templar. And Bomber is actually just going to go into the third base of iNcontroL. Storm's being thrown out. Oh my god, Bomber's actually going to lose so much health onto this bio. And look at this army. I mean, this is nothing right now. He's going to kill the Nexus. Good job, Bomber. But the problem here is iNcontroL. Those Storms were very, very well placed. I love the idea of Bomber trying to swing around and kill this base because he cannot let iNcontroL be on 3 bases with a Harvester advantage. As we look in the production tab, actually 52 to 51. So Harvester advantage in the favor of Bomber. But back to my point, Bomber killed the third, but was it really worth it to kill the third and just lose your army flat out like that to the Storms of iNcontroL? That was not the best engagement for Bomber. Now we're going to see iNcontroL with the supply advantage, 167 to 135. After killing that army, iNcontroL knows that Bomber is not going to have the same exact army size that he did in the previous engagement. He's going to start making his way towards the third base. 167 supply to 141. Plus 3 weapons and plus 3 armor soon to finish here for iNcontroL. Third expansion will be spotted. Does not want to have that complete at all. Third Nexus coming up for iNcontroL. Bomber pulling more SCVs here. So, I mean, he cannot. Bomber kind of has to do this. And quite honestly, in the early stages, no matter how long this game is going to go on for, if you're going to lose that many SCVs, you're not going to be in the best position. You need economy in the game of StarCraft 2 to be able to win against your opponent, to just make stuff to go kill him. And Bomber, quite honestly now, just pulling all the SCVs, and he's going to go for the engagement. iNcontroL going to blink back right now with these Blink Stalkers. Upgrades still in the favor of iNcontroL, storming a lot of these units, storming a few of his Zealots actually, but I don't think that's going to matter at all in this game. 175 supply to 107. Bomber's still trying to micro here with whatever he has. I mean, 20 Marines, 19 Marauders, 2 Medevacs. Wow, these Medevacs are going to be working overtime to try to heal up this bio, man. I don't think, there's no way Bomber can actually engage into this. Look at this. He's kind of just running around the map, knowing that iNcontroL has too many units, and iNcontroL is actually kind of just chasing him. Of course, that's not, I mean, he can't just go for an attack at the natural expansion, because Bomber can just run around and scoot and shoot, stim into the natural, kill the Nexus of iNcontroL, maybe even kill off the third. So iNcontroL just chasing it back, knowing he has a good advantage in this game. Bomber, 96 supply. These Zealots, of course. Again, more Storms being thrown at by iNcontroL. Bomber so close to losing this game, and he's just going to attack into it, but that does not matter. He does not have enough units to actually attack into this. So, I don't know if this was the real Bomber or not, ladies and gentlemen, but iNcontroL played a pretty good game, and I really like the defense that he did with the early SCV pull for Bomber. And this is something a lot of Terran players are doing. This is a great map for it as well. As I mentioned, this ramp is very, very large. If this ramp was smaller, you know, it's easy to place force fields and kind of zone out the bio. But when you have SCVs, Marines, and Marauders on 2 base, and you're teching as a Protoss, and all of a sudden your Terran player just hits you at the right timing, you can just straight up die, and that's actually one of the most frustrating losses that Protoss players have been experiencing on the ladder. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this commentary. Stay tuned for more casts. Make sure you click the subscribe button onto my YouTube, and that's going to conclude it. So, stay safe, good luck, and have fun.